Greetings, travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kahi.
And we're the Genshin guys. Welcome all. This podcast is for fans of Genshin Impact, the mobile game made by Hoyoverse, formerly known as MiHoYo. Here we talk about our opinions, experiences, and dreams about Genshin Impact. If you like our show, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to the podcast. So, before we get started, Kahi, how are you doing today?
Doing rather well. Had a pretty long day at work, but I couldn't stop thinking about what we're going to talk about on the podcast because, oh my goodness, there's a lot. And I mean a lot. And we aren't even 10% into this whole thing. But yeah, we have to choose what we're going to talk about today. So we're just going to talk about the big thing, the elephant in the forest, the Archon Quests, and there's a few other things we want to scatter about. But what about you, Josh? Anything that you're excited for this episode?
Yeah, well, I mean, I also finished the Archon quest pretty late last night, and I still have so many fresh thoughts about like what was happening. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to talk about it. But otherwise, my day is pretty chill. I'm really excited because yes, I've been playing Genshin, but I've also been playing like some other games on the side, like Pokemon Unite, Dead by Daylight, the new JoJo's remake game of a fighting game that's like one of my favorite games of all time. So the video game space has been pretty cool for me recently. So just again, wish I had more time kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, so it sounds like we're doing great. Let's go ahead and get started with today's topics, which are: firstly, we talk about our week in Genshin, as always. Secondly, we'll talk about Genshin news. Third, we'll talk about the Archon Story Quests, which is going to be the bulk of our episode today. And we're going to do the Who's Voice Line too, the return of the Who's Voice Line minigame. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely stick around. And lastly, we'll talk about, as always, the community discussion question. Now, let's get started with our weeks in Genshin. So, Kahi, how was your week in Genshin?
Filled with a lot of stuff. Finally finished the second part of the Archon story. Still farming for some good artifacts for Kale, and all the other ones I'm just thrown into the strongbox for some Thundering Furies. I was torn between trying to go for Thundering Fury sets or the Flame Witch set because, trying to prep for Dea. It's still kind of between the two because I've been trying to do some experimenting with my teams because I think I sent you a video about like my beta team with the set. Trying to see like what other characters I haven't used in a while. I kind of want to bring Lisa into a team because, and just kind of see like how I can use her. And I have a good, I didn't try this yet, but I told you on Kale I have the viridescent bow, the one that creates like a little kind of like tornado that kind of pulls things in. It's a bit of a crowd control, so if I proc that, I just switch to Lisa and then I just hold her E so that it's gonna hit them without hitting me. I kind of want to try that out. I have a feeling it's gonna work a lot because that little tornado cooldown is only like 15 seconds, I think. So I can bring Lisa out.
It is very small though, so you got it.
It's small, but I still get that. I didn't know this, but Lisa does get a defense boost when she's holding that thing. So I could probably live. So I'll try it out. I don't want to invest too much into these characters because I am still prepping for new characters.
Yeah.
But all of the mini games and mini objectives that are in your adventures guidebook and your battle pass stuff. I mean, they give you a lot of Mora. First of all, they give you a lot of like experience packs, and of course a lot of primo gems. I'm pretty stacked. I don't remember the time where I had this many primo gems, but still saving. I just can't decide on which character I want to roll for next because Kokomi's coming back. We have Dea, Candace, and then eventually Kusanali. So, oh man, there's a lot to do. A lot I am still doing, and a lot to think about. Oh man, I love that there's just so much stuff to do.
So much.
I got a full few months ahead of me. Oh, by the way, like the Sumeru launched the same day the new Destiny 2 season came out. So I'm like, I'm trying to go back and forth to one. Like, okay, I'm done with my dailies here. Okay, go. Okay, I'm done with my dailies there. Okay, go back. Okay, just spend the rest of my time just chilling in Sumeru. Oh man, I feel like there's a lot under my plate with just two
First
games.
world problems, right? Yeah, like we so many games to play, so little time, but that's what we love doing. So let's keep doing it. So for my week actually in Genshin crosses over to the real world because I went to Shibuya today, but I went the other and I
Hey,
saw real live Genshin teleporter, and it sucks because it's the only teleporter I've unlocked in real life, so I can't teleport to the other ones. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't been to New York,
it
Singapore.
didn't
Yeah, I didn't
unlock
unlock
them.
them yet, so I can't teleport. But yeah, basically I got to go see it, but I got there later in the day after work, so there was no goods left. There was no merchandise. There's no merch. And so I'm actually going to go tomorrow morning, get there early because it opens at 10. Tomorrow's the last day. And they said that every day they have like a set amount of stock that until they run out, they'll just sell it. And so because they were out, I'm going to go back. Um, and it was raining the day I went to, so I wanted to take better pictures in better lighting, but it's super nice. So yeah, and I'll post the pictures later on the podcast as Twitter. So if you guys aren't following at Genshin Guys Pod, check it out. I'll post pictures on there. It should be super awesome. There's very few places in the world that it is right now, and I'm so happy that they brought it to Japan. Because initially in the initial post they didn't actually say that there was going to be one in Japan, but luckily there is. And also I am in Japan, so great. So the other things that happened to me in Genshin in game, I got to Tainari, which is great because I was like wondering if I was gonna lose the 50-50 because I got Ito on his banner last, saved up a bunch of gems. Was thinking about skipping Tainari, but like I'm on a quest to just have every character. Like I'm just trying to make sure I have at least one copy of every character. And right now I'm only missing Kokomi, who is fortunately the next banner, so saving up already. But if I don't lose the 50-50, I think I can get her too. So that'd be great. I have spent some money in the game, but I'm okay with that because I can support it. I can support myself. But Tainari is really awesome. He's really, really fun. But he'll come to the standard banner, so if you skipped him, you still have a chance to get him in the future. Now, I also finished the Archon quest, like I mentioned. That was super exciting. We're going to talk about that story today, and just exploring Sumeru a bit. So, yeah, just in case all these different things are going on. The game has a lot to do, which is very fun. It's like kind of overwhelming when you think about it, but when you're playing it and you just turn off your own idea of like what you have to do and you just kind of get lost in the world. Like Sumeru is a really crazy place to explore compared to the past countries that we've been in, right? Like the
Absolutely.
verticality of it, like the caverns and layers and trees and all this stuff, super super fun. So yeah, so I mean, our weeks in Genshin, I think everyone's week in Genshin who's been exploring Genshin has been pretty fantastic. And yeah, let us know how your week in Genshin has been. Comment and or tweet at us, So, so let's go into the Genshin news. Okay, so Genshin news this week, not that much, but we did have a birthday. We have Mona's birthday, August 31st. Woo, Mona. So, Mona been in the
Congrats.
game since the very beginning. Really, really cool character aesthetic, I think. And yeah, celebrate Mona's birthday. Um,
She was my first five
oh,
star.
oh, really?
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, the first 5 star I ever got was Mona. And I thought she was like the best because she was the only one that had that special sprint.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. She was like the.
Which they fixed, yes. And they fixed this patch. Oh my god, you can actually go over like uneven
Yeah,
terrain, stairs.
it's
It's
much better
great.
now. Ayaka too, right? And also like Sayu. Anybody that uses those like
And
abilities. Yeah,
Yelan.
Yelan. Oh my god. So Yelan's the one I use the
Yeah,
most people.
Yelan too.
Yeah.
Because she's on my team right now for exploration. Because like she'll get stuck on one little rock and she just can't move. It was annoying, but now it's just smooth.
Yeah. Um. But so yeah, so great. So Mona, and then the Dory character demo just came out on the official Genshin Impact YouTube and Twitter. So for those of you that are excited for Dory, good for you because I was just telling Kahi earlier before the podcast, like, I'm not that interested in Dory because after meeting her in the story, meeting Dory in the story, um, I really didn't like her Japanese voice. Like, I play the game in Japanese, I speak Japanese, and like her character archetype in Japanese, like this, like, old lady who's like trying to kind of scam you into buying stuff, like this kind of character who loves money or whatever. It's a little too strong for me. I'm not really excited about her personality. I'm gonna get her anyway, eventually, probably. So, but and maybe her gameplay will be fun, so maybe I'll get used to it. But I think that like the way that her impression left me in the story, I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really into it. Like I was super excited. I like her aesthetic, but yeah, I'm not really sure about the voices. What about you? Are you excited for Ahi?
I mean, it could be worse. It could be
Oh, it can
worse.
always
Dory
be
could have had one
worse.
of those things where she keeps saying something at the end, like they keep saying "des" or they keep saying, "What's that other really old phrase that they say? Degozaru."
Oh,
She could just keep doing
but
that.
that's fine. It's more of the
Could be worse.
intonation that she has, like, 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 "irashai, irashai," like that kind of thing. Oh no.
See, okay, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I mean, she plays the character
Yeah,
perfectly.
no,
Like she encapsulates that
yeah.
whole slimy merchant that tricks you out of your money and gyps you
Oh,
everywhere. It's
100%. Like the
funny.
reason
I
I don't like
appreciate
the
it.
character is because the voice actor's doing it so well. You know what I mean? Like, I like that's great. It's one of those situations where it's like, you can't hate the voice actor for making you hate their character because that's kind of the point sometimes, right? Like some people don't kind of care.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate it. As someone who's interested in voice acting myself, like I definitely appreciate that that she's really good at doing the voice, but like you said, not my cup of tea as a character, so we'll see where it goes in the future. Um so yeah, let's see. If she's an amazing 4-star unit, maybe I'll use one day and get used to it, but we'll see. Uh anyway, so yeah, not so much news this week, just really Mona's birthday, Dory character demo. And yeah, so let's get started on talking about the Archon quest. Now, the Archon quest. So for those of you listening that have not completed the Archon Story quest yet, please, please, please pause and go finish the quest before you listen to the rest of this episode. Unless you don't mind spoilers, but even if you don't mind spoilers and you listen to the conversation, you'll probably have no idea what we're talking about, because it is a very confusing, very complicated story. And I really recommend that you go finish it, but take your time. I wouldn't say rush it. It was really, really fun. I really liked it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly go over I'm gonna outline the story of everything that has happened to us since we entered Sumeru. And then Kaki and I are gonna reflect on it just a little bit. We're not gonna make it too long, but we do want to like mention some key points and thoughts that we had. Now, so like I said, last chance, spoilers ahead. You have been warned. Okay,
Turn back now.
turn back. Okay, so now before we start mentioning the story, one thing that really helped us to remember the story and remember what was going on was actually the archive, the travel log. So if you guys have not done this, if you go from your quest screen, in the top right it says completed quests. If you click on that or press left on the D-pad or what have you, um, it brings you to the same place as the pause menu's archive button. You go in there and you go to travelogue. It brings you to the travelogue. And so this travelogue shows you all the completed quests that you've done up until now in the order that you did them, all the objectives you've ever gotten from those main storyline quests, as well as these are just the Archon quests, right? Main storyline Archon quests, not events. But also the story quests for the characters. So including Amber, Kaya, and Lisa, Razor, like those beginning story quests, as well as all the like 5-star story quests that have come out so far, including both of Raiden's, both of Zhongli's, etc., etc. So the cool thing about this travelogue is it actually shows you the order that everything happened in, and you can replay all of the voice lines. So if there was a specific voice line you wanted to hear, or in a different language maybe, or you want to try it out yourself, in like checking like what the words that were used were, You can always go back to this travelogue and check it out. So it's super, super useful for reviewing story purposes. And something we just found out about sort of recently, like I somehow feel like we knew that there was something like this here, but I didn't know that it was here to this extent, to be honest. So, if you're interested in reviewing the story, um, feel free to do so anytime from the pause menu. Now, that being said, just want to quickly outline the Sumeru Archon quests. Um, and they're called Through Mists of Smoke and Forest Dark for the first half, and then the second half is called the Act Two is called The Morn a Thousand Roses Brings, right? Which is the name of the update or whatever. Like that's what they advertise as. Now, a lot happens in these story quests, and so let me start from when we go to Sumeru. So we go into Sumeru, and we're looking for Kusanali, who we hear as the Dendro Archon, so we can ask things about our missing sibling. Now, as soon as we get there, the traveler sees a vision of the world tree and the words "world, forget me," and has no idea what's going on. Shortly after, you collapse, and then you meet Kale and Tainari. And you find out about Kole's illness. You kind of learn more about Sumeru, and then you decide to go to Sumeru City and look for more information. Right. I'm not gonna go super in depth with the details of the story because I'm assuming that if you're listening that you've already done it. This is just a quick reminder. Now you go to Sumeru City and you meet Dunyarzad, and she's running from some Eremit mercenaries, and you meet Dia, her Eremit mercenary, and you learn about Dunyarzad's health, and it is that she's been weak ever since she was young, like physically weak. And so, and because she has the disease that like turns you into like gray scales, I forgot the name of it, but yeah, we can look it up later. So you learn more about Dunyarzad and Dia, and then you meet Nilu, who is preparing for the festival, and Dunyarzad has been helping her. Now, you also then see Catherine walking around the festival preparation area, acting kind of like not herself, kind of like more upbeat and not just chilling behind the counter of the Adventurers Guild, which you're used to. And so it's kind of like weird to see Catherine outside of her working place, but it's not really much to think about it at that point. It's just like, oh, cool, Catherine's out and about. And after some things happen, you talk to some of the mercenaries there that are actually trying to help you out that Dia works with, and they tell you, hey, you should check out Port Ormos and go there and learn some more information. Once you go to Port Ormos, you meet Al Haytham and Dory through some different investigations to find the divine knowledge capsule that may have information about the archons and the just information that could be really useful to anybody, and you're kind of looking for any hint of meeting the archon, so you kind of join them along trying to find out, or join Al Haytham specifically and trying to find this divine knowledge capsule. Now the divine knowledge capsule falls into the leader of a group called the Alain Al Amar, or Alan Al Amar, and you have to go confront them, and the leader has used the divine knowledge capsule, goes crazy, and then says the same thing that you heard during the vision at the beginning, which is "world, forget me," and you realize everything is tied together through the world tree. Then a lot of that craziness happens. Al Haytham actually takes the divine knowledge capsule without your knowledge, so that he can study it or fix it or whatever it is, and then you just decide, oh man, that was a unfortunate turn of events. Let's go back to Sumeru City and meet up with Dunyarzad for the festival that is happening to celebrate the Archon Lesser Lord Kusanali, and et cetera, et cetera. There, you go back to the city, you meet them, and you start the festival. And you go through the whole day at the festival. The festival at the end of the day is canceled by the sages who say, hey, you're not allowed to do this festival, et cetera, et cetera. They cancel it. Now, you go to sleep and you wake up again and you do the whole thing again. real Groundhog Day situation going on here. You repeat the same day multiple times, many, many times. And I mean, gameplay wise, you only repeat it a couple of times, but you start having deja vu. You start noticing things, and then during one of those cycles, you meet Nahida, right? This little, um, like Diona, Klee, like that size, smaller character who has like long white hair, and you meet her and you learn about what's happening. You learn that you've actually met her a bunch of times. You learn about the samsara, which is like a circle. It's like a cycle. And the samsara of the festival that you are stuck in. Everybody's stuck in it. And but yet everyone's stuck in it and you're repeating the same day multiple times, yet it's not a time loop because like there are things that actually are consistent and change. So like I don't want to get super into detail, but for example, Dia is like she has a new sword at the beginning of the time loop esque thing, the samsara, and then by the partway through the samsara, she's already used to this new sword, and it's like she's learned it, but she's forgotten everything she's learned, but her body remembers it, and so, really complicated. We'll talk about that in a second. But basically, you find out that this circle that everyone's trapped in is actually a dream, and that the sages of the academia are using the Akasha system for evil purposes. And by evil purposes, I mean stealing people's dreams and pooling their information together to be able to use that knowledge and information to their own means, right? Which we don't know exactly their true goal yet, or how it ties into the Fatui story that we know from the previous video that we analyzed before with all the Fatui harbingers. And but we know that the sages are up to no good, and that we need to break this cycle, or else all of the people inside will become eventually mentally exhausted and eventually fade away. You find out that Nahida is actually Kusanali, the Lesser Lord Kusanali that you've been looking for, the Dendro Archon. But because time is of the essence, you do not have time to ask about your sibling, and so you go to figure out how to break the samsara. And you find out that all of these dreams can be broken through by waking up the person who is in charge. And you find out that Nilu is in charge of this dream that everybody's in right now. She's the host of the dream. And so instead of, you can't just jolt her awake because it could be dangerous for everybody inside. So you have to like slowly get her to figure out that it's a dream. And just as you do that, you get Nilu to figure out that it's a dream. She does the dance for the festival that Dunyarzad really wanted to see. And I forgot to mention, but Dunyarzad, like during this whole thing, was becoming more and more exhausted, and she supposedly her consciousness inside of the dream died or disappeared or faded away, is what you're kind of led to believe. But then you see her at the very end of this when Nilu's dancing, and that's the part in the trailer where the city's like disappearing, and then you get back to reality. And you find out that Dunyarzad was just barely saved by Kusanali, who went and found her consciousness in the dream world and saved her, took all her power to bring her back, etc. And now Dunyarzad is actually okay, which is great. A lot of people thought that she was going to possibly die as an NPC during this whole situation. It looked like she did, but it's a happy ending so far. And so once you find out she's okay, you kind of start to figure out your search of like when you can, like what your next steps are in your journey. Like talking to Kusanali hasn't really happened yet, so you find out that what is it like? So you're going through the city, and then you see Catherine, but Catherine's actually being possessed by Kusanali, and you find out that Kusanali can do that. She can possess anyone connected to the Akasha system, technically. And then you also find out from Kusanali that Catherine is a bionic puppet, and that basically Catherine is a robot, and it's confirmed. We've seen her before say things like error and et cetera, et cetera. But we learn a bunch of things at once. But next we are trying to figure out what do we do next? How do we stop the academia from taking people's dreams and information? Like, who's the bad guy here? We're trying to go deeper into this. And so far, the talk with Kusanali about the sibling has not happened yet. So, how we'll see going forward how these things play into each other. But that is the gist of what has happened so far. If you've played it already, you should know. But as a quick reminder, just in case you rushed it at the beginning and then you haven't played it for a couple of days, or you just you took a long time to play it and you're listening to this podcast, and hopefully that helps you remember some of the key points, right? Whew. Okay, so that was the key points of the story so far. In Sumeru, the first two Archon quests. Now, that was a lot of things, but Kahi, like, do you have any key things, key takeaways, key moments to remember, or things you want to point out about anything that happened in that story?
Okay, so Dia, I'm gonna keep calling her Dia just because it sounds cooler. Because like Dia sounds like too cute and like a little weak. Dea sounds like stronger. So I've been calling her Dea this whole time. So I'm just gonna everyone knows who I'm talking about anyways. Remember, Dea sold her greatsword, her original
Right.
greatsword. Now, if she's gonna be a playable character, especially if she's gonna be a 5-star, she has a unique weapon. So there's when she comes back into the story, her weapon may also kind of come back into the story as well. Because if that was like hers, her original one, maybe it'd be hilarious. Dory ends up with it because she uses a claymore
Oh,
too, and then we have to somehow have to buy it back from Dory. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, remember her actual sword that she used to own is still somewhere out there. It's been sold, and apparently it might actually be really powerful, especially if they came from the Eremites, and she's like kind of known as what is her name? The Flame Main Dea.
the main.
So that's one thing
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's one thing that stood out to me. So she's
yeah.
important, and she's coming back later on in the story. So keep that in your mind. Okay. Second thing, Kusanali calls herself Nahida either for some reason, maybe that name is someone that she met a long time ago. Maybe that was her name from something else. Maybe it's like a past life consciousness or something. But she is the only one that gave herself that name. She introduces herself at the beginning as Nahida, but then, admits that she's Kusanali. So there's a reason why she has two names in the first place. So the we have yet to learn the root reason for that, or like where Nahida came from. Did she just make it up, or is it significant in a way? I have a feeling it is either someone else that she knew over the last 500 years, or possibly like a consciousness of her past self. I mean, it's kind of related to some other personality in a way, because this whole thing about the dream state and how people's consciousness and personalities are kind of being like split from their actual body, like their dreams are being stolen over here, their consciousness is over here. Maybe it's a past consciousness. So the Nahida name is most likely going to come up as another talking point in the story later on.
Mm.
So that's another thing. Al Haytham is still in play. He's still kind of doing his thing. He's like doing his own investigation. And remember, he has the divine knowledge capsule now. He swiped it from like the actual sages when they were, arresting that other guy that went crazy. He just took it and just put it in and just pocketed it. We don't know what he's planning to do with it. Because I mean he's known, he has, the Akasha system and all that. He has a reputation. But we don't know if he's his own character, his own person. Is he working for someone else? Is he I don't think he's working with the sages, doesn't sound like it, but he still has it and we never saw what happened to it. So that's another thing we want to bring up. I think if anything, the last thing I wanted to bring up. So anytime we keep hearing or referencing the sages, I think we only saw one or met one so far.
Right.
Remember the Harbinger trailer? How like what was the guy, like the first Harbinger, that guy? He's talking about the sages think themselves to be all knowing, but we alone know what is it? But we alone are wise to the virtue in those acts of folly. So he's talking about these sages because they're all about knowledge and like, they know everything. If he's like against the sages, I mean, either the harbingers are their own kind of bad group, or are they kind of like secretly the good guys, but we just think they're bad, like, misunderstood bad guys? I get the vibe that they know that they're really trying to do things like for the right reason, but are kind of like aggressive about it because they want to. What did they say? They want to seize, and we will seize authority from the
Right.
gods. That's kind of what was happening in Liyue. Remember, because like all the what are they called? The Adepti. The Adepti kind of like took a step back and let the humans kind of take care of the city. So like there's this distance, this gap between like humanity and like the gods. Like Liyue was kind of in living in harmony this whole time, but then they decided to kind of part ways, keep their distance, and kind of let them do their own thing. In Shiznaya, that might not be the case. Maybe like some of the old gods still think that they own the world, and that's kind of what pushes the harbingers to become a thing in the first place. So they still want what's best for humanity, but are taking a completely different route. They're like the anti Liyue because there Signora, when she was in Liyue, she made a deal with Zhongli. So they have a goal and they're okay not being violent about it, apparently. I mean, she had to like beat up Venti for his, but she struck a deal with Zhongli and she's like, okay, we're good. She just leaves. So like they know more about this whole gods and humans relationship and history than we even know. So there's a reason why they brought up that Harbinger trailer first before going into Sumeru, because it was out of nowhere. No one expected that, but like apparently we're starting to see that overlap with that trailer and what's going on in Sumeru now. I just don't know when they're gonna show up. It might just be at the actual last act or last second, but I think Dottore is gonna show up first because obviously he has that comment about the divine knowledge because he talks about Scaramouche as well. What was his comment here? Conventional wisdom holds that divine knowledge cannot be rationally comprehended, and then immediately talks about uh, Scaramouche. After he conquers the divine gaze, he'll make his next move. So either we're gonna see Dottore show up first, or Scaramouche show up first, and then Dottore is like coming after him. Because that last cutscene in the Harbinger trailer, big trees on fire. That's coming. It is definitely
Oh yeah.
coming, and man, that's gonna be intense.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's just like so much that happened in the story, like, that like I mean, obviously it's still partway through and there's still a long way to go, and I'm sure some of these things that are happening will carry way on past the Sumeru Archon quest, but like, the things that are going to happen most likely more immediately, like Al-Haytham using the divine capsule that he's still holding. If we see, the Harbingers anytime soon, like if any of them come to the Academia to, like, maybe they're making deals with the sages, um, maybe we'll see something like how they're connected. Like you're saying, like, they're talking about the sages, at that time in that cutscene, but what if that's actually happening and then we see some of that really soon? And plus, like, it has to lead into the whole experiment in blasphemy thing pretty soon anyway. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how it'll get there, because especially I was not expecting this story to be like this. Like, this is really, really interesting. I really thought it was going to be like, they started talking about the Aramid soldiers who like are trying to resurrect the Scarlet King and all this stuff. Like, I thought it was going to be like a faction war.
Oh yeah, that was a
Like,
surprise.
it still might be, like, it still might do that when they get to the desert. We might hear more about that, but like, I was not expecting this part to be this in depth about the Akasha system and dreams and uh like this sort of like time loopy, kind of situation. Like, it was so interesting to see them doing that in this game. Ooh, I want to mention.
Oh, you just
Oh yeah,
reminded
yeah.
me.
Well,
Oh, you go first, and then I'll
okay.
share mine. Oh, I just remembered something. Oh
I
man.
just remembered that during this whole thing that happened, you learn to do this like investigation. There's like this whole investigation mechanic where you have to like choose which um phrase is like the closest matching to the answer.
Oh, the thought bubble thing.
Yeah, the thought.
I'm still confused as to how I
Yeah. So
got
so
the
yeah,
right thing
I just I mean
eventually.
you can just keep trying and then you'll get the right one. But like basically the what I understood it to be was like there's like you a couple of options. You can press the button to listen to them, like to listen to your thoughts on them. And then you can choose if that is the option that goes with the story. And then you can choose like submit this option. And if it's not, it'll say like, oh, I don't think that's right. And then you can just keep doing that. You can just keep guessing for all of them. But then there's sometimes where there's a second layer where like out of those thought bubbles that you have, those options, you can actually combine one of those options with a different option, and then you can submit that option. So it's really simple. Like it's really just like, um, are any of these the answer you're looking for? If not, then this answer might lead you to a different answer, and then if it does, use that answer. Like it's pretty. You can pretty much just hit like submit all of them and keep trying over and over again, and then you can't really lose. But what I liked about that part was cool. It's like okay, it's like the choice system, the dialogue choice system, but a little more in depth. But it gave the traveler a bunch of voice lines, like speaking voice lines, and I was like, this is
Yeah,
nice.
the most he talked in like
Yeah,
years.
I'm like, unless you go into his profile and listen to him talking to Paimon, like he doesn't talk that much. And what's really cool and is that like recently they've been giving him more like thought bubble text, like where he's like talking, but he's not doesn't have any voice lines. But then this is the first time where they actually had a bunch of voice lines where he just talks. And I think that that's so cool because I think they started out with giving the traveler the sort of like you're the traveler personality, but then I think they just kind of made the traveler have a personality. And I think I'm more interested in the traveler being his own personality or her own personality over the like I'm the traveler thing. Like that seems kind of like overdone in a way, and I want to see him interact with the characters and less like um I don't know, like empty words, like just like a bunch of generic responses because you're the player. Like I think so far they've done a pretty decent job with that, but I think that it could be much more fun to be immersed in Genshin if your traveler was a character too, you know? Which he seems like or she seems like they seem like they are. Like um they add a recently they've been adding a lot of personality to the things that the traveler says, like a lot of like smart remarks and funny banter with Paimon and like much more so than in the beginning. And it makes me feel like, oh, like the traveler's pretty funny and also the traveler's pretty badass, like at the same time. So I think that was fun. So what was the thing that you mentioned that you remembered?
Okay, because I got on a train of thought thinking about like the Harbinger trailer, and then we wrapped it back to like, oh hey, they're trying to resurrect the Scarlet King. Okay, if my original theory of last episode was correct, like the Scarlet King, if Scarlet King is the Pyro Archon, and somehow they bring him back. Remember, the Scarlet King hates the Dendro Archon because like she, she like stole his like either power of wisdom or like title of wisdom, Archon of wisdom. But like they hated each other and they were feuding, and like the whole history goes like their battle is what made the desert. So if he's Pyro, he might actually be the one that sets the freaking tree on fire. Because like if he comes back, what's the first thing you're gonna do? You're probably gonna get revenge over like the person who like defeated you or imprisoned you, or you're gonna get mad. Like every monster did that when they got trapped. They go after like the person that trapped them. Like they try to defeat or like counter and defeat the thing that made them the way they are. Like it might not even be the harbingers. The harbingers might actually be just trying to navigate this whole thing, and then Scarlet King shows up. But yeah, I mean, that's just a thought. But like, I thought, okay, we're blaming too much on the harbingers because we don't know what else is going on in the world. Like, because if they're hinting at Scarlet King and bringing up the feud, that might have some relevance earlier in this story going forward.
I mean, yeah, so like Scarlet King is probably going to be super important wherever whoever he is, but remember like the I actually looked this up later, like the Pyro Archon is a female and is like known as the God of War and Lady of Fire and it was like super highlighted in the manga, like Venti talks about his experience with the other archons and he's like, "Oh yeah,
Okay, if it's a manga, I believe you. Yeah, because I didn't read the manga at all. But they obviously brought Kale. They obviously have like backstory. So if the manga is already saying she, sure, I believe it.
Like speaking of the manga, like Kale's whole story in the manga was like her backstory is like pretty dark. Like, like you kind of find out about it like
So
that,
I've
like she
heard.
was kind
Yeah.
of, forced to do stuff like experiments and stuff, and she on her uh because she wanted to get rid of the or like her was it like her mom? Was it, is that right? Like someone gave her to them to because they thought that they were going to be able to fix her illness, but even though it was prolonging it, she had to go through a bunch of experiments and it was like not good for her in the end or whatever. So anyway, maybe we'll revisit that, but yeah.
Was that Eleazar the sickness? Is that the thing?
Um
Because isn't that the same thing that Nizad
yes,
has?
yeah, so they have, yeah,
Eleazar.
they have the same, but because of Kale and everything she went through, like it's in a different state, I think. Like remember like she is like actually really powerful, and she because of the experiments, and she can't control it, and so she's like kind of hiding from it all the time. But yet despite all of that, like she was able to get a vision, dendro vision, right? And that's super cool. So meaning she is has potential to ascend to godhood. And you know what, so does Bennett, now that I think about it. Bennett Bennett the
Pyro Archon
god, Klee
confirmed.
the god, Diona the god. Oh my god, I can't even imagine, dude. But yeah.
Well, technically, I mean, even Ning Wang
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
technically single-handedly destroyed the sea
I
beast,
just think it's
the sea
just
god.
so interesting to see where the story's going to go, like toward the end, where like everything about visions and the gods and all this stuff is and Celestia like is going to be revealed eventually. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. Um, yeah, so the so yeah, so there's like a bunch of stuff, right? There's a bunch of stuff that we're kind of able to infer, but at the same time opens a lot of questions. And then where, as far as like how it will connect to the information we already know about things going forward, like how do we get to the desert? Like what are we going to be doing in the desert? Because we know the desert's coming. I mean, how, and what that's going to look like, and and then the story of the Scarlet King. Like, what is it? Like, how are we gonna resolve that? Because like supposedly Scarlet King has been dead for a long time, but they're talking about resurrecting him. So just the way that they talk about it makes me feel like, yeah, they're gonna somehow successfully resurrect this Scarlet King or someone claiming to be the Scarlet King, and then we're gonna have to like fight someone. So maybe they'll be the next boss or something. But yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to. If you're into leaks and things like that, there's a little bit more information, but still not enough information to really clearly tell what's happening. Um, and one thing I'm kind of excited for is like like Candace like came out. Like Candace's like official information on the Twitter came out. But before that, there wasn't really any leaks about her. Like it was like because I have a friend who like sends me leaks and things like, oh, did you know about this? Did you know about this? But there was nothing about like Candace. And then like all of a sudden she just came out, and then there was leaks, and it was like, whoa, what the heck? So I'm really curious, like even the stuff we don't know or the stuff we might know from other resources, like they could really just come out and surprise us. And so I'm really excited to be surprised. I want to be surprised. Like leaks is one thing, and I always take leaks with a grain of salt, but like I love like playing through the story like the way we did. Like the it's so well put together and well thought out. And it was a really, really fun story overall, this Sumer Quest that it just went in a direction I totally didn't expect it to. And I really enjoyed it. And the characters were great. The voices, the voice lines, the acting, the writing was also really great. Um, and yeah, so I mean, it's definitely.
Oh, the camera work is definitely noticeable. Like the camera movement is not just side by side, look here, look there, one angle. It's like it tracks like from above, goes like through like buildings. It kind of tilts and twists as you're talking and you're trying to figure out the world. I don't know if you noticed that, but like when you, Nahida, and Dia were talking, like the camera was like slowly like tilting off to the side. Did you see that?
I don't.
You remember what I'm talking about? Like when you first meet Nahida at that place when you're like near the bed, and then you start talking about the dreamlike states and the worlds, and you're trying to figure it out. The camera like tilts off axis, and it kind of like it's almost like it's tilting to the right, like your head's turning, but it looks like the world's kind of like shifting a little bit to like help emphasize that weird, intriguing, mystery feel or investigative, like thinking. It was actually really good. The camera is so much more dynamic in this story. Like not even Inazuma had this. It was just very like straightforward, like nice big shots and like very like imposing and powerful. But like this one is more like it's like it envelops like the whole mystery feel of it. Like the moving from one scene to another, just how they can use camera works and like little effects. Like even when Nahida shows up, like there's like little glitchy effects that make her
Yeah.
disappear or like she like goes invisible. It's a lot better from a visual standpoint, like how they like unravel the whole story. It's a lot different. Someone was even saying like, is there like a different director for like this whole Sumer arc? It doesn't. It has a completely different feel than anything
Well,
else.
the only thing we can hope, right, is that the game just gets progressively better. Like they figure out what's working and they on
Oh
it,
man,
and
yeah,
it really has. Like, from I think we
definitely.
were at a really unique place with Inazuma, because of like even if you look at the map now, like I saw um, some people like made a new account and they just tried to like run all the way to Sumeru, and you can, right? But like you can't do that with Inazuma because of the boat and because of the storm. Like it's literally separated,
Cryo
right? I
bridge,
mean,
Kaya
I think
bridge.
I
You
don't
can
know
do
if you
it.
can even because there's like the thunderstorm, right? Like so you might get hit off or whatever. Like, it's
Could have
probably technically
sworn I saw a
possible. Yeah,
video. Might have been early.
yeah.
Yeah.
So either way, like the fact that like Sumer is so connected to the rest of the the places we know, like Liyue and Mondstadt, like it really makes Sumeru. I think it's more interesting because we see a lot of elements of like how Sumeru is connected to like the world around it, as opposed to like Inazuma, where like it's just like so separated from everything. And I'm really interested to see like how how the world feels as the new areas come out, right? Like how separated do they feel? Like right now we feel like Sumeru is like it's like Sumeru has always been here. That's kind of what it feels like. It's like, oh, Sumeru's just over here. Like it's right here. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Just over like a couple miles that
yeah,
way.
it's so weird because like that this whole area didn't exist. I don't know if you saw like those pictures, but like like before the maps and stuff come out, of course they have to like they don't have everything set or they have to like figure out what they want to do. So when you look across the horizon past the non-playable areas, like it's just a bunch of generic mountains and rivers and stuff. But then like once they actually come out with the area, like the landscape is totally different because of the actual map coming into the game. And it is a really cool thing to see, like to stand at the top of like Dragon Spine and just like look around. It's very, very cool.
Oh
Yeah,
man. I mean, I zoomed out of the map just to kind of like reflect on how much is in this game, and I zoom all the way out. And I just move my like the cursor around. This is a free
yeah,
game. Of course, there's gotcha. I know, but like, imagine a new player who comes into this, just downloads it for the first time, and just like keeps unlocking bigger parts of the map up till now. Can you imagine like how shocked they might be? Because even we've been playing this for a long time, and even we're shocked at how much of a bigger space we're adding to this. But like a new player can run in a straight line for like an hour and still not hit the end of the
yeah.
world.
It's-
It's crazy.
I also just thought about something that I was thinking of when I was playing the game earlier this week was like going back and doing like dailies in Mondstadt and Liyue and all these other things. Um, Now that Dendro actually exists as an element we can interact with, it's interesting to see the Dendro Samasurls, like the shaman hilichurls, that like make Dendro. Like and
Oh
like you
yeah,
interact.
the
It makes
vines.
old areas and old enemies feel fresh because of just because they're using Dendro. It's like, oh crap, they were using Dendro all this time. Like so
Oh, those vines are annoying. They don't even damage you. They just block,
yeah.
and like it blocks Kale's a boomerang. Like it just Stop.
Oh,
I
actually,
didn't even
that's
keep
actually
going.
terrible.
Oh, that's annoying.
But yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
like I mean, I'm excited for the future of this. Like, just the fact that this like story of like it's like sort of technology based, but then there's also this aspect of dreams and gods and things, and they have this whole gameplay sequence where you play through the same day multiple times. Like, I was so surprised by the not only the writing but the execution of that, and how impressed I was. It's just gonna stick in my, it set the bar really high for me. So basically, I'm really, really expecting like the game to just be at this level or better from here on out. And I think they can deliver. Like obviously, they're making a lot of money or whatever, but like I will gladly support. You know what I mean? Like I really really enjoyed this chapter. It does make me feel like the time I put into this game was worth it. And so yeah, and this podcast is always fun. I love playing with like the lens of like, oh, like I could talk about this on the podcast. Like that's a really fun thing to do. So yeah, thank you all for listening as well. Um, so yeah, so that kind of wraps up our section on the Archon Story Quest. If you want to share with us what your favorite moments were, or you have some opinions about the story, let us know on Twitter, let us know on the Spotify, um, comments, or in the Apple Podcast. Let us know, and let's move on to our second to last segment for the day, the really fun Who's Voice Line segment. My favorite segment because I love the voice acting in this game. So, all right, so let's get to it. Who's Voice Line? Okay, welcome to Who's Voice Line, a segment where I will be sharing some voice lines from the different official voiceover dubs found in the game. I want to do this segment because I love all the voice actors. I feel like this is a great chance to give some recognition for the hard work that they do. And I'm going to share the format, which is I will share 3 voice lines from one character in each of the 4 voice-over dub languages available in the game right now, which are English, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese, and I will share them in that order. Then I will give you some time to think. Feel free to pause the podcast if you want some time to think about who it is. And then I'll have Kahi guess, and then after that, I'll reveal the answer. Okay. Sounds good. Are you ready to go, Kahi?
Ready when you are.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our first character in English.
It's raining. Fetch an umbrella for me, would you? Gales like this can be the demise of fishermen, not to mention... Never mind. You've been with me for some time now. Have you learned to observe? Then observe me. Observe me right down to my very core.
Okay, I'll give you a second to think about it.
I know exactly who this is. It's obviously Ning Wang.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's totally
Dude,
Ning
I
Wang.
love that.
First of all, the nails. Yeah, she's talking about like these nails and the fisherman. I mean, she used to be a fisherman.
Yeah.
When she was poor. I mean, she has like those nails on her fingers, and then like
She doesn't
observe
say
me.
nails. She says gales.
What? Wait, what did she say? These claws?
Gales like wind.
Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, I heard nails. Maybe it just cut out for a little bit, but like, yeah, she has like those little nail things on her hand. Well, well, that's one other coincidental piece of evidence. But she talks about like observing. Like you actually become like kind of her secretary. Like you're trying to like learn about Li Wei, and she wants you to observe her. She's the only one that kind of like is that forthright with you. I mean, she also her English voice, I guess in some way kind of matches, but it doesn't sound as like elegant as like the Japanese version. So she has that poise, that posture. Like I mean, the English almost sounds like she's a little bit too
Braggadocious?
Yeah, that's what it was. I thought I was making up a word if I said that. But yeah, that's what it was.
Bragging.
But I mean, it's still good. I've been in Japanese so long.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I have not heard that voice line of just saying, "Observe me." Next one will be Japanese. Now this is a language that most of our listeners cannot understand. So what I'm looking for is if the Japanese voice lines if they are able to transcend the understanding of the language, if you can tell who this character is by their demeanor, by their voice texture, their tone, let's see if you can guess. All right, and then Kahi, I'm gonna throw you this next one. Okay, you probably know because I think you play the game in Japanese, but we'll see. And okay, ready? Voice number 2.
私が嬉しく感じることは何かって？もし仮に、どんなに頑張ろうと解決できない問題に君がぶつかっても、この世の終わりだなんて思わないこと。だって、他の誰かが君を助けに来るかもしれないでしょ。一目でわかるでしょ。あのお金持ちの坊ちゃんはただものじゃない。慎み深い上に自信にも満ち溢れている。それと少し危険な香りもね。父親？私には縁遠い言葉ね。私にとってはないに等しいもの。もしくは、たくさんあるものとも言える。どう？驚いたかしら。
Okay, I'll give you a second to think about it.
I think I know who this is.
All right, who is it, Kahi?
I think this is. Oh, it's actually. Oh, it's between one of these two. Shenhe.
Boo boo. That's not correct.
What? Okay. Maybe. Is it Raiden Shogun?
Oh, no, very much no. This is not my favorite Japanese voice actress. Okay.
Okay, because I was.
I'll give you-
The reason why I thought it was Shenhe
Uh-huh.
is she was speaking very slow, very soft, but I didn't understand like why there was like that slight giggle because I don't think she ever did that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was that one laugh. If that laugh wasn't there, I would have been like, "Oh, that's totally Shenhe." But obviously, there's a giggle now. So who has this?
Ready?
Who has this demeanor? I
Ready?
wonder. Go ahead.
Ready?
バーバラはいつも私に張り付いて、やれ礼拝だの、やれ合唱だの言ってくるわ。
That's a hint.
Okay. Yeah, I heard it.
Who is?
This is Jean.
Oh my gosh, no!
What? How is it not?
This is why I picked a character
Who else talks about?
you don't know. Who
I
talks
heard
about
Barbara.
Barbara? Who works with Barbara in the same profession?
Wait, Rosaria?
Yeah.
Oh no, that makes sense. Oh no, that makes sense. Because yeah, she has the same demeanor as Shenhe.
Yeah, except
They're,
you said
okay, they're
she
very
has a little
similar.
bit more emotion in her speaking than Shenhe does.
Yeah, the giggle. That one giggle is what
Not
separates
the
the two.
giggle.
She actually has an attitude.
She has an attitude, like her tones go up and down, but Shenhe is pretty level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Shenhe has like curiosity,
Okay.
if anything, but like
Yeah,
Why is it-
I mean like the pace, like the soft, pace, like kind of like conniving or like how do I put it?
haha, next
Cold.
try.
They're both cryo.
Oh, they're cold. Yeah,
Okay.
ice queens, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the thought process is there, but yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it makes sense. Totally. I can hear it.
Next is Korean, okay? And we're
Alrighty.
moving to a different character now. Okay, ready?
울부짖는 바람 소리는 범죄의 흔적을 가리는 데 이용되지. 밤이 됐네. 생일 축하해. 오늘은 너의 소중한 날이야. 네 소원을 말해봐. 내가 할 수 있는 일이라면 한번 생각해보지.
Okay, I'll give you a second to think about it. Okay, who do you think it is?
It sounds very similar to another one. It sounds very similar to the other voice actors, actually. Is this Zhongli?
Nope.
Ooh,
Not enough
okay.
face.
Who is this demeanor then? I'm gonna say Diluc.
Oh, nice. Yes, it's D-Luke.
That's the
Ding,
one,
ding,
yeah.
ding.
That serious
Bing bong,
tone, that
bing bong.
kind of deep, rugged voice. Like yeah. I was thinking Zhongli because everyone thinks of him when they think of this kind of voice or character. But yeah, makes sense.
Nice.
But he does sound very close to like the other Zhongli voice actors.
Yeah, I think the Zhongli though has like this specific bass that's always in his voice, like no matter what language he's in.
Yep.
Really,
Very rocky.
really, yeah, really deep. So okay, now let's do the last one. It'll be in Chinese, okay?
Ready.
真是和平啊，可又能持续多久呢？你该不会怕黑吧？哦，那我可找到新素材了。骑兵队长的头衔可没什么了不起的。说起来，蒙德城的骑兵都被大团长带走了。
Okay, I'll give you 1 second to think about it.
Ooh, I might know.
Okay, who do you think it is?
Okay. Sounds a little proper. Doesn't have like too much burst of personality, but funny, smiling. I can kind of hear that he has a nice soft smile throughout the whole thing. Is this Ayato?
But that's a good guess.
Okay, so someone very close to this then. Who has like a nice proper tone, doesn't really talk out of line or does not very loud. Ooh.
You want another hint?
I'll take one more voice line, yeah.
Okay.
你喜欢酒吗？蒲公英酒的口感就很特别。什么？还没到喝酒的年纪？那试一试蒙德的苹果酿吧，我知道一家还算不错的店。
Who is it?
Okay, he sounds older. He's not a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Tartaglia? Child?
Oh no, but that's like even closer guess. That's
Oh,
close.
come on. Okay.
西风骑士团卡亚，请。
Okay, is this Kaya?
Yes.
Okay.
Kaya.
Because I heard it, but I'm like, I always like. Okay, the way I remember Kaya is more like he kind of is like more playful, like in his speech. Like he kind of sounds lazy, but like you can hear like his like scoffs or his chuckles off to the side. I mean,
He left.
maybe I just haven't seen Kaya in a while. Yeah, he laughs, but like he's not. He's level-headed. He knows he's controlled, but I thought he has a very similar demeanor to like Ayato and Tartaglia in a way. So that I was not too far off. But like when it's in another language, obviously, like you can only have so much to go on. But there's gonna be like a certain few personalities that sound the same or that feel the same. But I mean, just like the other ones like Shenhe versus Rosario, they kind of are similar, except Rosario has been with people and is like more introverted, and then you have Shenhe who's like super interested in people, but is just shy and has like those limiters. So there's all kinds of things that blend these things together, but they have like a very clear like difference in just how they behave because of their story. So I mean, yeah, these guesses are really good, but like that's all I had to go on was just the voice. But
Yeah, well, that's the.
I like it. I like this one. It's fun.
I really tried to trick you, but and obviously like it's hard to pick. I actually wanted to pick different voice lines for some of these characters, but these are actually characters I don't have leveled up very much. Like I don't have my friendship with Kaya and Rosalia that high, so I couldn't do the voice lines that they talk about specific other people. So like on Kaya, I can't do about Jean, about Lisa, about Amber. I can't do them because I don't have them unlocked. So, next time, like I did last time, like try to like insert a different character's name in there so that maybe it can give you like sort of a hint. But yeah, anyway, it was really good guessing. Good job, Kahi. If you guys got it right, let us know. Tweet at us or comment or review the podcast. Yeah, I really love this segment. So, if you're interested in, learning more about voice acting, different languages, feel free to try them out. They're right there in the game. They take up some gigabytes, but I think it's worth it. I love switching languages all the time. So thanks for playing, and let us know if you got it right. So that being said, that wraps up our Whose Voice Line segment. Let's go to our last segment, which is the community question discussion. So last week we talked about what's the most interesting thing you found while exploring Sumeru, right? So we didn't actually answer this question, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer it now. The most interesting thing I found, I mentioned it a little bit last week, was like one of the there's two things I thought like really stood out to me. One was like this lens thing that like you can point at a budding withering zone, and you can destroy the withering zone before it happens. I'm not sure how much you actually do that, but I found it in one place, and it was really weird and really cool to be able to do it. If you find that one, let me know. I feel like there might not be a lot of those, but maybe there is. I don't know. I'm still exploring. The other thing is like there's this area where like the water level is raised, and like I tried to like go to that area, not realizing the water level was raised, and I just fell in the water, and
Yep,
it was like a really
I'm in there now.
okay. Yeah, so that place
My character's idle while I was doing this.
nice. Yeah, so apparently like
Mhm.
there are puzzles, and it looks like you can make the water level go down, but I haven't actually done that yet. But it was pretty surprising. What about you, Kahi?
It's in the same area actually. So when it's raining or at a certain time, I think people were just telling me it's at a very specific time of the game clock. But the thing is called the Varunastra. So it's the what is it here? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Varunastra. Yeah, the Varunastra is the name of that little seed-like glowing building in the middle of the lake. It's in the Appam Forest, the Appam Woods down south to the west of Port Ormos. It's in the middle of that whole thing. Now that thing, I told you earlier, I was trying to like record a video for like an animated wallpaper, and then just while I was sitting there, just kind of like seeing how the whole environment looks, it just starts glowing, and I'm like, whoa, dude.
Oh my god.
And the way I got the achievement is I snapped a picture, and because during the recording I didn't snap the picture, but then I posted it to like the Genshin Reddit, and people were telling me, oh, just take a picture, you get an achievement. Oh, sweet! And I took a picture like in the middle of the recording, so I'm literally just having Kale like bouncing on a mushroom this entire time, just staring at the game.
Oh my god.
So when it finally came up, I'm like, oh, okay. I muted my mic, and then I just took the picture. You have to use it with your regular camera, not the gadget camera, like your in-game menu camera,
That makes sense.
and then you get the achievement. Oh, but
Yeah,
man,
as a camera, it's
I
weird
don't.
that it doesn't count for some of those things.
Yeah, I don't know what their whole programming is, but like this is a huge environmental like monument change. Like I don't know if like there are other places in the game that frequently go through like a really big like zone wide change, like the water level rises like you mentioned, and this thing starts glowing like in the middle of it all during like the rain. It's Oh man, if we had more stuff like this in a world, it makes it feel much more alive. Sumeru just feels so lush, so full, and like actually like alive than any of the other zones could ever be. It's just like the whole context of like a forest with ancient history and technology around it, and of course the magic. It's just such a ripe place for just visual storytelling, just more caves, more things to explore and just experience. Like people can like we talked about this earlier. You can just get lost in this whole zone. Like I love it. Like if I'm just like sick or something, I don't even want to play a game. I'm just gonna run around, just stare at the stare at the forest. It's awesome. I love this place. What about our community? What are they saying?
So yeah, that's pretty great. Yeah, that's pretty interesting to see like the world changing before your very eyes. But yeah, our community is saying things like let's see. So from Pimzo Balto, we have the Vanarana place is so interesting, but the second place is Gandharvaville. It's so cool. So yeah, so Kahi, I think you haven't been to the Vanarana place yet, but it's the one that
No.
the preview that we saw, like the picture with all the little houses that looks like a Ghibli movie. It's
Oh, I did not go there yet. No.
Yeah, so it is very nice. It's a very chill place. And yeah, so and Venti, someone whose username is Venti says, Aranara, there's nothing else to say here. Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Ken Star Green 35 says the mushroom platforms we jump from have eyes. So I guess that's the most interesting thing he's found in Sumeru.
I actually didn't know that.
Oh,
I thought they were just mushrooms.
the mushrooms, man.
Didn't see it.
Everything is a mushroom in this place. It's so interesting.
I know, but like the platforms, I didn't know they had eyes too. I thought there was only like the ones that fight that had eyes, but even the ones that stay still have them. I did not know that. Thank you very much, Ken Stargwin.
And Nathaniel says, I think it's almost. I like the bridge and the music, and I like Hydro, and there was a lot of it there. A lot of Hydro there. Yeah,
Port Ormos,
phenomenal.
yes.
Yeah. Port Ormos music,
Mhm.
fantastic.
It's a great place.
Cool. Yeah, just a cool place to chill.
I didn't go to the lighthouse. I didn't go to that darn lighthouse way down south. I should go there.
Oh yeah.
It's right there.
And then I don't know how to read this. DXRE Goat says, I haven't been exploring Sumeru very much. Personally, the most interesting thing I found in Sumeru probably has to be the bouncy mushrooms. I love the fact that they're bouncy. Me too, friend.
Easy.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. We like that bounce.
And so yeah, thank you for answering the community question. Again, feel free to be a part of our podcast by answering the community question anytime. Speaking of which, we have a new community question for you. And Kahi, would you please let them know the new community question?
Ooh, this one's a doozy. You might want to take your time with this one, folks. So, of course, you've experienced this story and how even the last story with Zhao and the chasm. I mean, where everyone's kind of getting really close to death lately. So, let's think about that. If someone had to, I mean, no playable character has ever died in the story, but if someone had to, who and how? Come up with their demise. How would their story end? I'm curious.
All right. So yeah, answer that community question either in a comment on the podcast, in a tweet at us at Genshin Guys Pod, or comment on Spotify if you're listening from Spotify. So you can be a part of the next episode. But thank you all. That was our community question discussion, and wraps up the show for today. Thank you for listening. As always, leave us a comment and review. If you leave a 5-star review in the form of a question, we may answer your question on the next episode of the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Also, again, one more time, follow us on Twitter at Genshin Guys Pod. And as always,
Ad Astra Abyssos.
星と試練を目指せ
Enjoy.